Join us on YouTube and subscribe. Also follow us, please. You're welcome to follow us on Instagram, and you can reach us at yeshivaetzion.com, Etzion, yeshivaetzion.com, where in that wonderful website you could actually see our merchandise. We have t-shirts and we have a sweatshirt. Unfortunately, size small is already taken, but it's time for the big guys to really show what they're worth, so you can order it. It's a wonderful stuff that we have there. If you have questions, you can reach us at rabbigaon@gmail.com, and you could also make a donation if you would like to be a partner of the yeshiva. Everybody is a partner. Without a doubt, we would rather see you learning with us than your money. So I would appreciate if you come to yeshiva more than you actually send donation, but if not, at least send that. You'll be a partner in that way. So in the Parashat, so we're talking about sending people. You don't send 12 people and you announce all the groups. The whole entire thing. You don't announce it like that. Now, all of a sudden comes here a great group of people and says, Moshe Rabbeinu, please, we wanted to send, we want to send spies and so on, but the army itself decides to send the spies. Here it wasn't the case. The soldiers are the most professional, those spies are the most professional soldiers that know how to operate and to mingle within the people, not to be too noticeable, to collect the data, which is very important, data collection, and so on and so forth. And in our story, it comes from the people, from the will of the people, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, fine, not a problem, send it, do it, why not? Even if we know maybe this is going to lead to mistakes, since the people want it, that's what the people do. We have to respect the will of the people. Well, in any case, this is not really a way of which you send spies for the sake of war. It says, "Vayatu et Eretz Canaan," and they scouted the land of Canaan. Moshe Rabbeinu sends an envoy of 12 very respectful people, right? Great rabbis. They look like this. They don't look like one of the guys around the block. They are respectful rabbis. They are the biggest. They are the presidents. And of course, they did not mingle in. They look like Canaanites. They look like Jews. They look with their clothing and so on and so forth, with a staff. And I'm sure they took some. They took some books. They didn't want to do Bitul Torah. They went to the whole entire thing, and they walk around the country. So what kind of espionage is that? Maybe they should take a lesson in espionage. So we always need to look also at the internal aspects and the spiritual aspect. Hey, Jonathan. And in the pnimiyut, in the secret of the pnimiyut, of the mystical aspect of that, we know that the real job of those great entourage, those presidents, Nesieh Ha'am, was really to learn Eretz Israel inside. What is Eretz Israel spiritually all about? So how is it possible that such great people would sin? I would like to offer you a different case scenario. Maybe it wasn't so much their fault, and I think you might like it. Maybe there was a managerial error here. There was a certain lack of understanding of what this is all about. And what do I mean? Let's say, for example, if you work in any organization that they have meetings and so on and so forth, whether it's a public or private thing, right? You always, before every meeting, you have to understand, and you have to determine, why do we need this meeting to begin with? First of all, what's the purpose of this meeting? What's the purpose of it? We're just going to meet. People have weekly meetings. Ribono shel olam. What are you going to do in a weekly meeting? Most of those meetings that you do are a waste of time. Because, we have a 9 o'clock meeting. Everybody, please don't forget. Everybody comes in with And what do you happen in this meeting? Nothing happened in this meeting. And the reason why nothing happened in those meetings, because it wasn't determined. Why do we need the meeting to begin with? Instead of having the meetings, let's say, for example, let's say Eitan is the boss, right? And he says, okay, like this, last time we met, I gave Josh a job, Ari was supposed to give a report, this was supposed to give, please give it to me. We don't need to meet about the sake of meeting, just to meet, to mingle. If you want to do that, you make a kumsitz for the people. Make a little kumbaya, get together, everybody makes lechaim and so on. But a meeting has to have a purpose, right? And again, if you don't know the reason of this meeting, it's going to be just a waste of time, and there's no need to have a meeting like this. It's not only that it's unbeneficial, believe me, it becomes harmful. Before any kind of operation that you go out, and like a military operation and so on and so forth, you really have to define the objectives of what is that you like to achieve from this operation. Like, for example, one of the problems that they have in Israel right now, I am not a military expert, by all means. But as an observer from the side, it looks like they have different plans, drawer plans. In a scenario like this, we're going to take this plan. In a scenario like that, we're going to take this plan. They are always reactive. They're not trying to become proactive and initiate something. It says, our goals are 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I drew a plan 2, 3, 4 years ago of in the case this will happen, the objectives change with time. If you haven't set objectives for the operation that you're about to go, what am I looking to achieve from that? I'm going to tell you something. 90% of the time, this operation is going to fail before it started. What are you looking to do? And that's the job of a leader. You cannot assume, regardless how talented your people are, you cannot assume that they would read your mind and they will do what you thought they're supposed to do. Why didn't you tell them that? Tell people the expectation. By the way, the same thing with you raising kids. As a parent, you are the leader. You have to tell your kid, I expect of you to do A, B, C, and D. That's what I need to do. If you need help with that, I'll help you achieve those goals and objectives. But I have an expectation from you. If you don't expect anything from your kid, and you don't tell your kid what you expect of him, don't expect that he will achieve anything. He will do what he wants. Or what his friends want. So, ריבונו של עולם, הקדוש ברוך הוא told, שלח לך אנשים ויתורו את הארץ. Send people, and they should scout the land. Now let's look to what Moshe Rabbeinu. So the problem is that he tells them go as tourists, and Moshe Rabbeinu tells them something else completely. He says to him, וראיתם את הארץ, and you should see the land. מהי? ואת העם היושב עליה, and the people who sit there, right? החזק הוא הרפה. Is it strong? Is it weak? That's very strange and very not typical of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he puts his own interpretation to what God told him clearly. Go, v'yaturu ta'aretz, go on vacation. Don't go to Cancun. Go to Eretz Israel, go scout the land. Tell me, go enjoy it, go look. It says, Hame'atu Rav, is there a lot of people, little people? Uma ha'aretz asher hu yoshev ba. What kind of a land is that? Hatovai imra'ah. What do you mean? What difference does it make? Even if the land is bad, Chas v'shalom, let's say Eretz Israel is bad. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you should have it, so what? You have a problem. You have a problem with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we'll make it good. What is that Moshe Rabbeinu is doing here? Uma ha'arim, what are the cities? Asher hu yoshev ba'ena. B'machanaim, b'mivtzarim. Are there open camps, or there are fortified cities? Uma ha'aretz, hashmenai razah. In other words, is the land bountiful or not? Ayesh ba'etz imayin. Is there a tree that? What are you doing to them? That's not what he said. V'itchazaktem ulekachtem mipri haaretz. And you should be strong and you should bring about the fruit of the land. However, he gives them a hint. It says, how is the hint? And the Torah tells us, V'ayamim yemei bikurei anavim. Anavim, if you take anavim, if you take the word and now strip the word, pull it apart, ayin ba, go look into it. He just told them what to look, but he told them in such a way that it was a misinterpretation. So the Meraglim were not sent, the spies were not sent, were sent to do maps, to draw maps, but not maps of military conquering, of what regular spies would do, how to get in, how to do war, and so on and so forth. But they were sent to bring pictures of the land. They couldn't take, Snapchat, Snap, what do you call this, pics, whatever you call this, They didn't have digital cameras, they didn't have telephones, they didn't have Instagram. Go tell us so we can show the people. We can do like a show and tell, like a presentation of how the land and what the land is all about. But with the way, if you read what Moshe Rabbeinu told them, it's very obvious. It seems like he told them, go become military spies, not go become tourists. Now, in a person that understands, right, and in other words, and the reason is, we'll see later, but really the reason is to bring the neshama into Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is just like a thing, and now we need to bring some kind of a spiritual connection with it. So that was the mission. But Moshe did not explain to them clearly. He thought that they are Anashim, Yidduei Hashem, they're great people. So if you understand in this kind of remez, right, which is Anshe Tzura and so on, and we'll be able to they will be able to understand the hints behind it, and then open it up for you and make the real picture for you, right? So therefore, that was a good thing. But instead of bringing them a picture of the internal part of Eretz Yisrael, the Meraglim went and brought an external part of a picture of Eretz Yisrael. And this is as what they say is, regarding HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ve'en tzur ke'elokenu. Tzur ke'elokenu, right? So Rashi Omer, en tzayar ke'elokenu. Nobody is a better painter, a better artist than Ribono Shel Olam himself. So go give us some of the beauty of Eretz Yisrael. Like, for example, you guys went to the Grand Canyon, right? You sent pictures. It's amazing. Wow, so we can enjoy that beauty as well. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu tells them in a hint. He doesn't tell them straight out. And that's something that we should all learn in terms of applying this to our life, right? So the tzaddikim, and we know that the tzaddikim supposed to emulate the midot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as the Tomer Dvorah says, not only at midotah, but also how to act according to the sferot, not to be like the Keter, to be like Chokhmah, to be like that. So, if a person wants to be like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he has to be a painter like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, put a neshama into everything. And that's the difference between artists. There are artists who can make you a painting that would look exactly like you, but it would look flat. Another person will be able to put, by little manipulation, maybe not an exact thing, but the picture will be full of life. And that is le'achnis neshama betoch hatziyur. And that's what he wanted to do. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu wanted for, and that's why he picked those people. He should have taken other people. He took the greatest people because he thought that they will be able to do so. However, he did not tell them that. Am Yisrael needed to enter Eretz Yisrael. Lihikanes. Lihikanes teaches us or gives us an idea that this is all a matter of a process. Lihikanes, you are entering. Entering is a process of mazali kanes itkansut. Litkanes is also to go within, right? Litkanes bifnim is to go within. In other words, enter the inner layers of the experience of being in Eretz Yisrael. It's very interesting. Anybody knows Rabbi Sonnenfeld? Rabbi Sonnenfeld from Yerushalayim said one time, he said on the commandment of Avraham Avinu, Kum hitalech ba'aretz le'orka u'lerochba. Why? Ki lecha etenena. Of course, it doesn't make sense. Go up and down there because I'll give it to you. Okay, give it to me. Give it to me. If I for whatever reason, I don't, but I wouldn't mind. And let's say I own 1,000 acres or like 3,000 acres or whatever, or a piece of land like Ted Turner, which is the biggest individual landowner in the world. In the world, he owns a few million acres. But you want to tell me Ted Turner went all over the thing? I mean, he didn't go to his whole territory. Here, Kadosh Baruch Hu comes and said, go walk around the land because I'll give it to you. Right? So, what does it mean? What does it mean? So, Rav Sonnenfeld said, Kum hithalech ba'aretz le'orka. You see, these are the beautiful hints. Rashi Tevot, Kabbalah. Kum hithalech ba'aretz le'orka. The way to see Eretz Yisrael, Rabotai, is not just to see sightseeing. Like you would go to, I don't know, let's say you will go to India. You go sightseeing. You go, oh, wow, it's a nice building. Oh, wow, it's a beautiful thing. Oh, wow, this. Oh, wow, that. Going to Eretz Yisrael is different. Going to Eretz Yisrael is going through the pnimiyut, through the spiritual part. That's why when my boys were bar mitzvah, I did not make a party for my boys. I made the lechaim in shul, in my house, after they made the Aliyah Torah in shul. And right after that, I took them to a trip to Israel. And the trip to Israel that I did with them was to go visit their family and to go see, believe it or not, beyond the Kotel and the regular places, archaeological sites, to walk in the land. I wanted my sons to feel Eretz Yisrael through their feet, to understand their connection to the land. And I took him to places, and Eretz Yisrael is very easy. So, here there was the battle of this, here David did that, here Shlomo did the other one, here there's Eliyahu Bakarmel, and so this Tana was sitting here, this Amora was sitting there, that was Tzipori, this is Tveria, this is Tzfat, the Ari Kadosh, going to all these places, so they would connect with Eretz Yisrael, not as an ideal, but as an internal reality. For me, it was more important to make a party with I don't know what, 1,000 people and hopefully receiving checks. That's nonsense. That's something the Goyim do. That's not for us. And I wish everybody will do something like that. I think it will be more beneficial for you and for your child. Yeah, what a wonderful thing that a father can take his son on her own, the two of them, maybe the first, or maybe hopefully not, but in the time in their life, it's two adults going together, bounding together. That's more important than to see your father getting drunk in your bar mitzvah. Right? You know what I'm talking about. So, and why is that? Because the Eretz Yisrael is considered to be the pnimiyut of the whole entire world. If the whole entire world is the outside shell, the land of Israel is the neshama. Rabotai, that's why we need to make sure that we need to fight for our right to Eretz Yisrael. And I told you this 1,000,001 times. 1,000,001 times. There's no such thing as the West Bank. There is Judea and Samaria, which is Yehuda v'Shomron, which is an integral part of Eretz Yisrael, should not be giving back. Gaza, fine, give Gaza back. Yehuda v'Shomron is ours, is a part of Eretz Yisrael. We bring Trumot u'Masrot. Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, is an occupied land, but not by the Jews. It's an occupied land by Arabs that came in and Muslims that came in and occupied the land. And this is something that we need to understand. And we are all in that front. And the front is that you and I are all soldiers fighting this battle. How? There are some people who fight the battles in Israel, and there's some people here. And that's why you need to do your job when it comes to changing public opinion through all your social media, and do your due diligence to give the message around. You have to do that. And you need to tell some people, like the BLM, and I'm not talking about the Bureau of Land Management, right? If they tell you about blacks and Jews, why would you send them the link that I sent you about the speech that Martin Luther King had about the land of Israel, the state of Israel and Judaism? That's something that maybe they should teach in school. However, that they would not teach you. So before they take it off of YouTube, because God forbid, there will be some black leader who would recognize the right of the Jews to live against anti-Semitism in the land of Israel and the state of Israel. So maybe you should watch it. And maybe you should share it with your non-Jewish friends and with some liberal Jews. That's what we all need to do. Because if we don't do that, we'll see exactly where the problem is. But then you have some Jews who go and demonstrate against Israel. This is exactly comes, the roots for that is from this parasha. And that's what Avraham Avinu, that's what he told us. That's why we were always, all the people, that's why the Mekubalim in Tzfat were the one who had desire so much, because to practice Kabbalah outside of Israel, it's kind of pointless. It's like eating the shells of the fruit instead of eating the fruit itself. Kabbalah needs to be learned in Eretz Israel. So they had a neshama in terms of the pnimiyut of the Torah, and therefore they need to connect it together with Eretz Israel, which is the pnimiyut of the Torah itself, and that's a complete full circle. Now the same thing happens in a wedding. When a husband, when two guys, a husband, a chatan and a kala are going to get married. What do we do first of all? I mean, the whole concept of irusim, engagement, is kind of stupid. I mean, I think it's stupid, isn't it? What do we need to do? So another party, another headache. What is this all about? Of course it's not. If you do it the right way, it's not. If you do it the wrong way, it's a waste of time. Why is that? We want to make sure that the chatan will get comfortable with the kala. So we need to do that gradually. We don't take them together. We just throw it out for the first time, go break your heads. So gradually, we needs to introduce her. He needs to be a little bit more comfortable with her, right? So what do? Then we do the erusin, the engagement. Before the wedding, we do erusim. She tragel ba. And then before he actually marries her, what he needs to do? He must check her. That's why we do the tichelin, the unveiling of the face of the. He needs to see her. Am Israel is about to, and then he marries her, and then he loves her. But Am Israel is about to enter Eretz Israel, so he needs to get used to Eretz Israel. Sending the meraglim to the land was supposed to be a good idea, because it was supposed to introduce the people to the land. Tell us a little bit about it. If I'm going to tell you, hey, listen, David, I have a girl for you. And you're going to tell me, well, how is she? Who is she? What's she about? Don't worry about it. Tell your parents, tell your friends, next Tuesday, coming here, we're doing a wedding. Wait a minute. At least let me see a picture. Don't worry about it. Are you going to marry? Anybody going to marry like this? No, nobody is going to marry like this. I want to see her. Tell me a little bit about it. Let me see a picture. Let me call some references. That's what the meraglim was supposed to do. Get Am Israel used to something that they didn't know. Then the chuppah, the actual wedding, would have been later on when they enter the land. This is all an analogy when it's quite clear. And later on, like this, like in a wedding, he would see her, he would love her, and so on and so forth, and they would teach and they would learn to love the land, and they would put the essence of the land itself into their neshama, and with this great excitement, they will bring it over. Just like those Rabbanim, the Ashkenazi Rabbanim, told the people, go to Eretz Israel, they went. Or like Hasidei Agra, the Gra wanted so much to go to Israel, he couldn't do it, but his people went to make Aliyah to Israel. How is it possible? Because this was so much in him, he was able to give it over to his people. Now, I don't understand a rabbi that will tell his people, Davka al tilchu l'Eretz Israel. Don't go because it's Zionim and this and that. That's shtuyot b'mitzvah kvaniyot. If somebody wants to go, of course, it has to be done in a responsible way. You have to make sure that he is ready for that, just like you would do to a person who wants to marry someone. You can't just take a guy and tell, okay, you're going to marry. You have to make sure that he's capable and responsible. He has the tools and so on and so forth. Just like that. So why here it's okay and here it's not? So that's what they were supposed to do. So they didn't understand that. They didn't understand that. And to do that, they were not told. And that's why I said to you, it was a communication breakdown to me, because it bothered me all my life. How is it possible that those great people messed it up so bad? I mean, if you really look at this, they did what they were supposed to be doing. They gave a report to Moshe exactly how the land was. There were giant people there. They gave him a true report. Yoshua and Caleb were different, but the other 10 meraglim did exactly what they were supposed to do. They thought that they're supposed to go like a military spies to give him a report, and that's exactly what they did. Imagine if you were a spy and you give them, oh, don't worry, we have bitachon, it's all good. And then you send your troops and then chas v'shalom, they're going to get slaughtered. Well, you need to be a true reporter. But to tell them that that's their expectation was not told them. It was assumed that they will do so. There was assumed and they didn't do it. That's why as a leader you need to tell your people what's the objectives. Don't think that they would know. Even if the 100% they would know. Time and time again you must tell them. Everybody needs to know their part. If you, for example, have a unit that you operate in the army, everybody knows he's going to be in charge of weapons, he's going to be in charge of communication, he's going to be in charge of explosive, he's going to be in charge of sharpshooting. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody's capable of doing somebody else's job. But everybody does a specific job. The Meraglim were not told that. So in a way, listen, why are they getting blamed for? They did what they were supposed to be doing. It's very easy to jump on the bandwagon and blame those people. It's very easy. But if it's so easy, you would never learn from it. And if you will not learn from it, you're going to make the same mistake. These are great people. The Nesieh Shevet Israel. They're greater than Tanaim and Amoraim. They were Nesieh Shevet Israel, Ribono Shel Olam. They were great, awesome people. I wish we had one of them like this. So that's but only Yoshua and Caleb understood that. And of course, like always, the people always like bad news and catastrophes. That's a machala, by the way. There's certain people that is, you can hear like great news. Oh, Mashiach is arrived. Mashiach has arrived. So they're not going to send you a text message, oh, Mashiach has arrived. They're going to send you a text message, oh, some catastrophe happened in Japan, a volcano erupted. Bad news people. It's a terrible thing. Catastrophes, bad news, stay away. Rabotai, turn off all bad news. It doesn't help you. It actually destroys you. And the reason is of course, because there was a group of people that spread that, and that was it. So now we have, of course, the Vayaturu, Lechu Vayaturu, the land, and then we have another Vayaturu, right? Vayaturu of Mitzvah Tzitzit. The Mitzvah Tzitzit that was given to us at the end of the parasha came in a way as a tool, as a measure to fix the sin of the Meraglin, even though it was for the Klal, but it was for the sin of the Meraglin. And that was really to give us and provide us, first of all, the leaders of the people with a vehicle or tool that are always going to remind us where the heart should be. A leader that believes in all his heart that the journey that he or the hike that he leads, whatever, right? He knows exactly why and he believes in that. He's not going to say, oh, it's too difficult. He's not going to say, it's too hard for me. Nobody loves me, nobody helps me. He's going to carry it all the way to the end. And for him, any task along the way is going to see as something that is able to reach. If you're going to tell me, oh, this I cannot do, there's something wrong with you. Everything could be achieved. Everything could be achieved. Of course, yes, okay, if you're going to tell me I want to be President of the United States and you were born in Uzbekistan, that's not going to happen. But you could be a governor, but in terms of your own personal goals and achievements, everything could be achieved. You were told not to achieve, but you need to teach yourself different. How many of you think that you can finish Shas? How many of you actually finish Shas? If you really, because you tell me, oh, Rabbi, I have difficulties, I have work, I have a wife, I have this, I have that. These are just excuses. If you really want something, you're going to do it. Nothing can really stop you from becoming whatever you want to become. And even if there are obstacles, and don't think that means that the path to achieve the goal is going to be obstacle-free. No, there are always going to be obstacles. But you know that there's obstacles because you're so determined, could be passed. And but if you have a leader that really is doubtful in what we call tzidkat haderech, in the right for you to do what you're doing. For example, Vietnam, right? The people who fought were not good. And that's, by the way, the difference, and there's something fascinating. I just want to tell you something about American military. Since World War II, America has won every battle it went in. However, America lost every war it went in. The battles they won, the wars they lost. Do you know why? Because the battles are fought by capable people. And the wars are run by old dinosaur generals. You need to do the work yourself. Imagine what would have happened to the 10 people if Moshe Rabbeinu or Aaron would have gone with them. When you're going to have kids, and some of you have kids, or you're going to be bosses, or you are bosses, think about that as well. Think about those examples as well. This parasha is not about making a committee to find whose fault is that. This parasha is about how to learn from that leadership skills and abilities and implement them so we won't make this mistake. That is not the same mistake, cannot happen, but the pattern always exists. And we always repeat the same pattern as the Meraglim. So if you are able to identify the pattern and you take responsibility, which I told you this already a few times this week, do not use the word I unless it is for receiving responsibility or taking blame for yourself. Always use the word us and we, not I. I is when it says it's my fault. That's something for you to remember. So now, for a leader that doesn't have that and is not really complete, every small challenge is going to be a major obstacle, and every difficulty is going to become a crisis. And this is a tremendous responsibility that leaders have. And again, each one of us is to a certain extent a leader. Even if you have no family and you're all alone, you're leading yourself. And our job is, as a leader, is to see things differently, to be able to interpret things differently, to understand on how to execute, because every little person doesn't have this ability. That's why they're little people. You only become a big person not because your father was a chief justice or president. You become a big person because you believe in your ability to do so. If you don't believe, you're never going to reach anything. Now, we all see the same sights and we all see the same, but again, the leader's job is to see above and beyond, to see beyond the fog of battle, where to go, how to maneuver. That's what a true leader is all about. It says in the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, Daf Samech Gimel Amud Bet, it says, Lo avdu Israel avodah zara. Remember, that has to do with tzitzit. Am Israel did not worship idols, only so they could do promiscuous acts in public. So it seems from the words of the Gemara that all the difficulties in emunah, all of a sudden a person says, I don't believe in this, or I don't believe in the rabbis, and I don't believe in this Torah, I don't believe in that. All of that, it comes from a will to go after your own desires and not the other way around. Not the act brought the Averah. What brought the Averah is your thought. The ta'avot, those uncontrolled desires, make us fall and stumble and really unclarified. Why are we doing here altogether? My relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my job as a Jew, it becomes very unclear. And that emunah is implanted in every Jew, to the point that one time, I just don't know, I might even, God forbid, come to hate Jews. That's what happened to some people. And that's because you are extremely selfish. You're only willing to go after your desires. Your desires are uncontrolled. That's what's going to make you fall. We have time. Right. Am Yisrael, by its nature, as the Gemara says in Masechet Bavli, in Shabbat, what it says, Anachnu ma'aminim Bnei Ma'aminim. We are believers, the children of believers. But the Yetzer Hara brings us to Minut. So now, how do we become holy? What's the path to holiness? So of course, you could ask, how is it possible that immediately after a person removes his bad machshavot, his bad thoughts, he becomes a level of Ve'ahitem Kedoshim le'Elokechem. You became holy to God. Because a Kedusha is a level that takes tremendous amount of work. So how is it? I removed the machshavot, I became holy. And we need to say that when a person removes himself those machshavot zarot, those foreign thoughts inside of him, he becomes holy. Why? Because a Jew by nature is a believer. And once he is careful that his machshavot are not going to get spoiled, immediately the kedusha, the holiness which is implanted in him, comes up to the surface. So it's much easier, Rabotai, than you think it is to be holy. Much easier. And the reasons why you tell yourself it's difficult, it's because you're lazy. And we are all lazy on that. We don't want to do anything about it. Now, after the spies speak to the whole entire nation does not rebel, but it's just a group of people, a group of negative people, that they have a problem. These are the one, and I have a typo here, these are the one who make the Am to do chet. Now for that, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said something very, very fascinating, which I said many times without knowing that he said it, but now I'm happy that I was able to mechav it. His answer is, how were they able to do so, is because the spies and those people were not afraid of a failure. The group of negative people were afraid of success. And tell me I did not tell you this a million times and to certain individuals here. They are afraid of success, Rabotai. In one hand you want to be successful, you want to be big shot, in the other hand you're not. Because in the desert, if we say the truth, the state or the condition of the spies and the rest of the people wasn't bad at all. They ate bread from the heavens. They drank water from a well that followed them all over the place. They were surrounded by the clouds of glory. Their clothes didn't wear out. Their sandals were intact. And God was around them all the time. There was never in history of the world that a nation lived in such proximity to God as Am Yisrael did in the desert. So then they said, what's going to be when we're going to enter the land, when we finally graduate out of this and we go into the land? What's going to be? He says, we will have to fight. We will have to have an army. We will have to create an economy. We will have to work the land. We will have to worry. Maybe there's not going to be rain that is going to give us plants, and then we're going to be hungry. Maybe there are going to be 1,001 different other things to worry about of what we call life in this world, rather than life in the presence of God. That was their mistake. The spies was not afraid of a failure, as was said to you before. They were afraid of success. And the mistake was a mistake that happens many times to many good and even holy people. They wanted to be all the time in the glory of Hashem as much as they can, and they didn't understand one thing, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants something else from them. He wants to dwell inside of us instead of us inside of Him. And that's a big difference. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to sanctify the place that we're at. That's why it's important. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want, Rabotai, I'm going to tell you this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want 1,000,001 shuls. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want 5 different shuls and open in a neighborhood, one after the other, breakaway minyan after breakaway minyan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants one shul that everybody gets along with everybody. If you think that you're doing God a favor, yes, you're doing God a favor. You're doing yourself a favor so you can get tax deduction. But if you think that you're doing God a favor by opening another shul, by creating fights, you are wrong. You should be working on yourself to get along with each other. That's what God wants. He wants us to sanctify this place and call it appropriate for Him to dwell. And that's why he took Bet HaMikdash from us. Because we created a situation that it was impossible for God to be there. So if you want to know how we're going to get it back, that's how we're going to get it back. We need to sanctify our midst. We need to create unity and love. And that's the secret of Kriyat Shema. When he talks about love is one. One is love and one God is the same thing. And I told you this a million times. The numerical value of 1 is 13. The numerical value of love is 13. 13 plus 13 is 26, which is the name of God. You want to know how to bring God to this world? By unity and love. That's it. Not by having gay parade in Jerusalem. That's nonsense. So, one of the biggest differences between Judaism and other faiths is that while other faiths looks to lift men to the heavens, Judaism strives to bring heaven to earth. And of course, the group of people that started complaining was really a small group of people. They were very lazy people. However, by themselves they cannot do so. So what do? They get the masses to support them with that. Now, if they get the masses to support them by bringing up fear and doubt into them, hey, they already got their job done. So that's what we need to learn from that a lot. We need to learn from that the purpose of mitzvah tzitzit is to prevent a person to run around after his desire and after his eyes, and in a way by doing so preventing a person from doing an averah, but not putting a mask over your eyes, but in a way of fixing the heart, tikkun halev. That's why it says, fix your heart, then your eyes are going to be fixed by themselves. A person that sees the ptil tchelet ties his heart to his Father in the heavens, and then when the heart is fixed, it doesn't make a difference where he is and what he would see. Remember, I told you this morning. The chet, the sin by itself, is going to be irrelevant. Shabbat shalom.